Hello everyone, and welcome to the first of many videos going over the changes to the Neverenders Alpha, so let's get right into it. First things first, we've updated several cards art, mostly just touch-ups and redraws just to make the cards like more interesting and stuff. We've also updated the actual art for the board itself. As you can see, we've got this cool Neverenders pattern behind the spaces themselves, so very happy with how this turned out, as well as added an entire cardboard up here so that it isn't so every time you deck build, it isn't a mess of card piles. We've also added these cool logos to the cardboard for each of the archetypes, so as you can see there's one for each, and we just thought it was really cool to have those. Finalized the 8-point battle advantage. Before, the battle advantage, which is how you determine who wins and loses the game, was 10 points. As you can see, there are 8 slots right here, with the counter being in the middle and 8 to the end. Before, it was 10, and the reason that we changed it from 10 to 8 was because we wanted to make games go a little faster. Another thing we decided to add was a minimum hand size, and the way it works is when you're under 4 cards in your hand, you may choose one of your deck, either your main deck or resource deck, and draw cards from that deck up to that minimum hand size. So let's say you were at 2 cards, and it's your draw step. You would choose your main deck or your resource deck and draw cards from that deck up to 4. So you would draw 2 from your main deck or 2 from your resource deck up to 4. This was done to help speed up games, as well as give draw to archetypes that we couldn't really, like, give draw effects to the cards. Finalized effect interaction orders. The reason that we made the effect interaction orders in the first place was because there were some people that were getting confused over what happens when this effect interacts with this effect, like which effect takes priority over the other. And I think that this example right here is a good example of what I mean by that. Imagine Chicken Liver was played in front of Hermit. Chicken Liver has the aggressive effect. On play, the opposing card is dealt 1 damage. But Hermit has the stakeout effect. If a card enters the opposing space, that card is dealt 1 damage. Which effect would take priority? Well, according to our new effect interaction orders, aggressive would take priority over stakeout because aggressive is an on-play effect, and Hermit and stakeout is an enters the opposing space effect. Therefore, Hermit would be the one to die, and Chicken Liver would still live. We've also heavily updated the rules document, making sure that everything in the game is completely clarified and making sure that there's no confusion over certain mechanics in the game, such as the battle advantage and how certain costs work. We did this because newer players were having a harder time learning the game, and so doing this was a really good change that should hopefully help newer people get into the game and start playing. That is the general changes that we've made, and now on to the archetype changes. So first up is changes to the suits cards. First up is Drake Tamer. We decided to give it flyby just to give it a little more utility in a pure suits deck. In its current state, Drake Tamer is not the best card, and we know that, so we decided to give it a little more utility and gave it flyby, so it's able to deal damage to the opposing card as well as directly. On Exorcist, replaced Fortified with Drowsy. The reason that we changed it from Fortified to Drowsy was because Exorcist was a little too tanky, so we decided to give it some utility in not making opposing cards attack, rather than being really tanky. Changed Twins to be a 2/3 rather than a 1/4. The reason we changed Twins to be a 2/3 rather than a 1/4 was because as a 1/4 it was a bit of a one and done. If it was damaged by a 1 attack card, it would become a 1/3. No, a 3/1, sorry. and it would sort of just die after it did its job. So becoming a 2/3 gives it a little more utility and makes it so it has some more survivability, making it worth its cost. Changed Merryman to a 1/4. The reason we changed Merryman to a 1/4 was because as a 2/3, it was a little too good when it comboed with Utopia, which Utopia allows it to get out for 1 cost when it perishes by combat. So we changed it to a 1/4 just to give it a little more utility, as well as changed the effect from Pushy to Piper. So now instead of pushing cards around, it will pull cards as well as activate any dropper effects. This doesn't have too much utility until you realize that Klutz has a dropper effect, which makes it a little easier to do some Hearts Diamonds decks, in my opinion. And now on to the Spades cards. The reason that I'm separating Spades from the other cards is that Spades was in a bit of a problem state before this update. And the reason that we decided to change a lot of cards was because Spades just kind of covered all of its weaknesses, in a sense. The way that Shade before would deal direct damage and not be able to be attacked, as well as Prisoner being able to get out Reaver really easily, allowing it to become a 3/2 even easier. Just made it really good, as well as Do, being able to attack 2 cards on the board. It was just really good, and we decided to change a lot of the cards, which is what I will be talking about now. So Spademan to a 1/1 with Arcane Strike. When attacking, this card may target any of your opponent's spaces. This was changed because it being a 2/1 was too good for 1 cost, as opposed to the Trader card, which has 2 downsides, being Suitless and Traitorous. Spademan didn't really have any downsides besides its low health, so we decided to change that. We changed Do to have Beatdown instead of Split Strike, because it being able to target multiple cards on the field as well as be buffed by Wounded Man made it really, really good for removing your opponent's cards. So we decided to make it focus down on only 1 spot rather than attack 2. We changed Ferryman from a 2/1 to a 1/2. The reason that we changed it from a 2/1 was because it being a 2/1 and not being able to attack made it really good. Not being able to be attacked, I mean. Made it really good and pretty much like not able to be removed for the whole game, so it would just manipulate your board state and constantly deal 2 damage to whatever's in front of it. It still has the utility of manipulating your board state without it being killed, but instead of constantly dealing 2 attack, it now constantly deals 1 with a higher health stat, so that if there are cards that can kill it, it'll be a little harder. We changed Prisoner to play a Do from your deck or hand rather than a Reaver, because Reaver being a 2/2, sorry, with Instinct, which allows it to gain attack, made it really good. Made it a really good combo and made Reaver a really powerful card, when Reaver on its own is a powerful card, but not as powerful as being able to play it for only 1 cost. So now it will play a Do, which is a much less scary card than Reaver. Shade was a bit of a problem in that it couldn't get attacked and constantly dealt 1 damage directly, so we decided to change it to have Relentless. This card ignores the opposing card's effects when it attacks, as well as Shadow Jumper. During your next end step, move this card to another of your empty spaces. This allows it to jump around the field and be able to avoid being attacked from cards that it attacks. So you can play it in front of a card that you want to deal damage to, and then move it out of the way if it's like a card that'll kill it. We changed Corpse. Corpse allowed you to get more cards out in Spades, and that made it really good because there was also Shade as well as Ferryman that just made you get higher costs out even quicker. So having Corpse as a reassuring, oh, this will come out no matter what, made it really good. So we decided to change it to a 2/3 with Rotting. During your end step, this card loses 1 attack and health, and Carnivorous. When this card kills another, it gains 1 attack and health to a max of 5. This allows it to sustain itself as it constantly kills cards, and avoid the rotting effect when it kills, as well as make it so if your opponent blocks it, it'll sustain corpse, but if they don't, then they'll get dealt direct damage. This should be a better state for Spades than it was, and hopefully these changes will make it playing against Spades a lot better. We decided to give some new effects to Joker and Dark Jester. So, for Joker, we added First Act. After being played, reduce the cost of your next performance by 1 ticket. This allows you to run some utility performances in a Suits deck, and also has Suitful, which allows you to use it to play other Suit cards. And we gave Dark Jester Pillage. When this card kills another, search a card that costs 1 suit from your deck to your hand. We decided to add these to give the cards a little more utility, and I think they're good changes. We also reduced the cost of Multi-Man from 10 tickets to 8, because it was just a little too expensive for what it did, which isn't always the most useful thing, but it can be really good in certain situations. We clarified the Strengthen effect on Temperance to make it so that upon damaging an opposing card, this card gains 1 health, rather than when this card deals damage, gain 1 health. The reason that we changed it was because it was a little ambiguous whether it meant direct damage or damaging a card. So we decided to go with damaging a card instead of the weird in-between. We changed King's stats to a 1/4 and gave it Power Hungry. During your end step, this card gains 1 attack and loses 1 health. The reason that we changed it was because King was just a little too good before for its cost. Even if it was a character card, we decided to change it just to make it a little more fun to play against. And that is all for the suits changes. And now on to the circus changes. First up is Odd Letter. We changed the effect A Ticket to instead give 1 ticket rather than 2. The reason that we changed this was because Odd Letter comboed with Tamed Sea Beast a little too well, which allowed it to gain 4 tickets whenever it was played, while Tamed Sea Beast was on the field. We didn't want to change Tamed Sea Beast because it had the utility of other performances giving you tickets rather than just Odd Letter. So we decided to nerf Odd Letter to make the combo still there, but not as powerful. We also changed Admission Fee to make it a little more on par with Odd Letter. So we decided to nerf its health to 1 and give it Sightseer. During your end step, gain a ticket. As well as keeping the effect Unforgettable Show, which upon perishing, you get 2 tickets. This should make it a little more on par with Odd Letter. We also decided to change Gibbering Jabbers to 3 tickets, as well as have the effect Ticket Muncher rather than Blurry and Toothache. The reason that we wanted to change it to this was because before, Gibbering Jabbers was just kind of bad. It felt really weird to play, and we just decided to change it because this gave it a lot more utility, especially with Admission Fee now being what it is. We lowered the cost of World's Biggest Spider to 3 tickets so that it gave it a little more utility, and you're able to get more tickets out of World's Biggest Spider. We decided to nerf Grand Finale from 32 tickets to 50 because it was just a little too easy to get out Grand Finale. In the beginning, we didn't think anyone would get it out so quickly, but from initial playtests, it was really, really good for what it is, so we just decided to nerf it to 50. And that is all for the circus changes. And now for the mechanism changes. First of all, we removed Power Bank because it was just kind of a bad card and we didn't really want it anymore. So that is no longer a card you can play. We changed Caretaker to be 5 fuel rather than 4, as well as changed the effects of Counterspell. While in the field, all your cards with counters provide 1 of any suit. We changed it from this because before the remove counters to pay a suit effect was just kind of bad. It was a little hard to set up, and countersuit decks are not the most efficient way to play either archetype. So we decided to give it this, and it should be a little more fun to play. As well as giving it counter production. You may pay 3 fuel to play a counter on a card. That way you can run Caretaker on its own and be able to play more suit cards than you could before. See, we decided to change Flight on Sea Pilot to Flyby. That way its relentless effect gave it a little more utility, as well as still being able to deal that direct damage. As well as add the new card for Frigitron. That is all for the mechanisms changes. And now on to the Western changes. First of all, we changed the name of we changed the name of Bomberman to Safecracker because before it was just a little copyright infringement. Since Bomberman is already the name of a video game character, we decided to just change it just so that wouldn't be a problem. As well as add the effect Schadenfreude. While in the field, when an opposing card perishes, gain a coin. This was done to have a little more coin generation in the archetype. Hermit added the effect Loudmouth. While in the field, if a card enters the opposing space, play a counter on a card. This was done to just to have a little more counter generation in the archetype, as a lot of cards use counters. Gold Digger was reworked so that while this card's in the field, during your end step, gain a coin, +1 for each counter on this card. The reason we changed it to that was to give Miner a little more utility, rather than just being generate 1 coin during your end step and that's it. We decided to give Cow Skull counter intelligence. Counter advice, sorry. Just to give it a little more utility and allow you to have a little more draw in the archetype if you're playing a counter deck. As well as keeping its old effect being Flight. We decided to split up Drink Dropper as well as Drink Dropper's effects where it'll play a root beer behind it when it moves, as well as making sure the empty glass effect doesn't trigger. The reason that we did this was because, just to clarify what each of the effects do, and so if we wanted to use the empty glass preventing effect, which we called Tapster, on a different card, then we could always use that effect rather than have Drink Dropper instead. Preacher Man to a 0/1. I don't know why it isn't updated here, but we changed it to a 0/1 for 3 coins. Because it was a little too good as a 0/2. And I don't know why it's not updated here. It should be. We decided to give the dealer card Held Within. So when it perishes, it plays a hand card in its previous space. The reason we did this was so that you could play hand cards more easily, as well as be able to play more, in addition to its current effect. We decided to give Getaway Gang and Bruiser an effect called Roundup. When this card kills another, gain 2 coins. We did this to have a little more coin generation in the archetype because it was a little lacking. So we decided to do that, as well as replaced Reinforced on Wallerman with Dusty, and reduced its cost to 4 coins. Dusty is when damaged, gain a coin. These new effects on these cards should help with coin generation in the future. On the Gallows, we decided to rework Sentenced from what it was before to you may pay 9 coins to kill all cards. If you play another scene, this card is discarded. The reason that we changed it from what it was before, which was you may kill one of your cards to gain its coins cost back. The reason we changed it was because before it was just kind of meh. It was okay. So we decided to change it to this to allow you to kill every card on the field, including the Gallows and your opponent's cards. So it gives it some utility if you have the coins to pay for it. We decided to lower the cost of the Silver Bullet from what it was before to 7. This is so that you're able to play it easier. as its effect is not too powerful, but it's enough to warrant its 7 coins cost. We also buffed Gift of Greed so that it is now 2 coins, and we also reworked Blood Money, so in addition to when you are dealt direct damage, gain an equal amount of coins, when an opposing card perishes, gain a coin. We also added new cards, Old Legend, Sawbones, and Funeral Procession. That is all for the Western changes. And now on to the Aliens changes. We decided to nerf Mars Walker from 2 threat to 3. The reason that we did this was because with its colonizer effect, it being a 1/2 as well as having Pressure Bearer made it a little too good, so we just decided to nerf it to 3 threat tokens. We nerfed Grey Goo's Replicate effect so that you must pay 4 fuel rather than 3 to search your discard for deck or discard for another Grey Goo. The reason we did this was that Grey Goo was a little too powerful, so we just decided to make it what it is. We decided to rework the Sinister Reflection effect on the orb, so that rather than killing the opposing card and gaining its stats, it only gains its stats. Because being able to kill the opposing card, gain its stats, then do direct damage during your attack step made it just a little too good, so we just decided to nerf it so it no longer kills the opposing card. And we nerfed the Assimilation effect on Assimilator so that it costs 6 fuel to give another card its stats rather than 4. Because it was just a little too good at making your board full of 2/2s. We also added the cards Worker Drone and Hive Mind, and that is all for the Aliens changes. And that is going to be all for the updates this time. We hope that you enjoyed watching this video, and hopefully you'll enjoy all of the new balance changes and updates we've made to the game. Look forward to seeing more videos on the channel in the future, and look forward to more updates. If you would like to try out Neverenders, join the server. The server link will be down below. And if you have Tabletop Simulator, you can actually play the game with other people, and it's really fun, actually. We hope you enjoyed this video and are interested in finding out more about Neverenders. Hope y'all have a good day.